Assalamu alaikum and peace be unto you. This is a book reading of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad book, How to Eat to Live, Book 1. From God in Person, Master Farad Muhammad by Elijah Muhammad, Messenger of Allah, How to Eat to Live, Book 1. The chapters I will read today are chapters 13 and 14, pages 36 through 42. Chapter 13, Fruit is digested better when eaten raw. And chapter 14, Overindulgence, the enemy. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Fruit is digested better when eaten raw. Since being given knowledge by the all-wise one in the person of Master Farad Muhammad on how to eat to live, we should not confuse ourselves by studying the advice of all the people, doctors and quacks of the world on what kind of medicine, vegetables, meats, herbs, and fruits we should eat. If we keep getting advice on the above after getting the correct advice, we will never enjoy good health. All will be confusion. As I mentioned earlier, nearly all vegetables are good to eat that have been classified by the scientists who have studied the poisons that the vegetables contain, as well as the non-poisons they contain. We do not need to eat everything just because the Bible in Genesis said that Adam, who represents the white race, could eat nearly all of the herbs of the earth that are not poisonous. Our scientists teach us of that which is poisonous and of that which is not poisonous. If we are travelers and are stranded, we eat whatever we can find edible, to non-poisonous roots and the bark off trees. But this is not good for us if we wish to live a long time, because our stomachs are not made to digest the bark off trees and roots of trees or blades of grass and leaves. Our stomachs were not made to live off raw foods, except certain raw foods such as fruits, which, beyond a shadow of a doubt, should be eaten raw and never cooked. When we cook fruit, it takes away the vital property that is necessary for our good health. An apple or peaches or berries is better eaten raw than cooked, unless our health and body are weak and unable to digest the raw apple. There is a great need for knowledge on what to cook as well as how to cook it. We can live a long, great, and healthy life by just drinking good, wholesome milk and eating good whole wheat bread if the bread is cooked correctly. Some people will eat whole wheat kernel, but this is not good to do because it is the whole of the seed, and our stomachs are not made to digest the raw wheat seeds, regardless of the great property of vitamins in them. The whole wheat kernel should be milled and ground very fine. When you are ready to make bread, add water and yeast to it and set it aside to sour. This will put it in a better digestive state to be cooked properly for your stomach to digest. Cook it slowly after it has risen a couple of times in the mold. This must be done thoroughly so that all of the risen cake or loaf is thoroughly cooked through and through under the heat of the oven. After it is cooked, do not eat it until it has set a day or two. Even 3 days is not too long to wait for it. It is never stale because of age if kept in the right place. Never eat freshly cooked bread of any kind, as it is difficult for the stomach to digest. The same applies to beans and whatever you eat. Cook them thoroughly, but do not cook them in such a way as to destroy the vitamins or proteins that are in them to strengthen and build your bodies and tissues of your bodies. Some people will pull the brown crust off the bread to eat the unbrowned core. But by doing this, you are throwing away the most digestible part of the bread and accepting that part which is hard to digest. Toast that is brown through and through is much easier on our stomachs than a slice of bread that is not toasted. We can live longer by eating several varieties of foods. Never think that you are a great, healthy person just because you eat a lot of meat, white bread, cornbread, sweet pastry, or a lot of peas and beans. You are only taking a quick trip to the cemetery. Chapter 14, Overindulgence, the enemy. Yes, a quick trip to the cemetery. If we indulge in too much of anything, it becomes an enemy to us. Remember at all times when you are eating that you are to live and not to die. As I said previously in this book, white bread and cornbread are not good for our stomachs to digest. Regardless of how many hundreds and thousands of people eat this before you 3 times a day, it is still not the food for you and to me to eat it if we wish to live a long and healthy life. America's people consume more sweets than any other people on earth. They love their sweet, fat pies, cookies, and cakes at every meal. America has more bitter trouble with her health. Eating too many sweets piles up sugar in the blood and it becomes the enemy of our lives. Our blood is our life. Just think of the way we destroy our lives by eating too many sweets or too much meat or eating white bread and cornbread. Ask yourself that question. America is a great candy seller. She reaps a harvest of wealth on just selling sweet candies and nuts. They fill the candy full of nuts, as well as their cakes, cookies, and other pastries. The only thing with stomach enough to digest nuts is an animal. Birds love nuts, and they have what it takes to digest them. Nature made them that way. Just as horses can digest corn and anything else in their line of food, birds, squirrels, hogs, coons, rabbits, and worms can digest nuts. They can eat nuts and digest them, and they will not wear out their stomachs like yours will wear out trying to digest them. A dog's stomach and his digestive juices are like any carnivorous eating animals. He can digest a rare steak. In fact, he can digest it as soon as he kills the animal. You do not have to cook their food. They do not like it cooked. They like their meat raw. That is the way nature made them, to take it raw. People like the white people who love dogs and other animals change their way of eating so that it is against the very nature in which they were created to eat. You cannot make him a member of your family by seating him at the table to eat good, cooked food. He will live off it, but it is not the way nature made him to eat. Try offering him some raw meat and cooked meat. He will eat the raw meat before he will eat the cooked meat. Offer a cat a piece of raw fish and a piece of cooked fish and see which she will eat first. Raw foods appeal to their appetites as cooked food appeals to ours, but we can eat both. It is very dangerous for you whose civilization is not limited, but is limited if you follow the limited ones, to follow a civilization made by nature for a short time in their ways. This is what we have been doing, and this is what we must stop doing if we expect to survive. There are hundreds of drugstores throughout the country into which we should not go for anything except first aid if we hurt ourselves down the street or road somewhere. Not for something to stop aches and pains in our stomachs caused by eating the wrong food. We should not call the doctor for such foolish and ignorant mistakes as eating the wrong food and eating it too often. We should be ashamed to call the doctor for these errors. Eating the wrong food and eating it too often starts trouble in the physical body everywhere, from the sole of your feet to the crown of your head. As I said, you do not have to eat everything that people say is good to eat. It is a fool who does that. You do not need everything that is good to eat to live a happy life. Take some of those things that are good to eat. Of course, you should have a balanced diet. I certainly agree with you there. There are several ways you can prepare your meat and bread that will give you a sharp appetite at every meal if you prepare it differently. Bread can be cooked 2 or 3 times and also meat. It is best for our stomachs and our longevity. They both should be cooked twice before eating. Of course, they will not look as fancy as when they are freshly cooked, because the more you cook them, the more the surface beauty fades away. But the more permanent your life will be, and that good old stomach will last a long, long time if you allow it to rest after a hearty meal, no matter how good the meal was or how easily digested. Give your stomach from 24 to 36 hours to rest, to digest its food. And if you can, take 48 hours or 72 hours. That is fine. But first try 24 hours and then 48 hours next. Do not try with 48 and 72 hours. Get used to eating one meal a day. Then, when your appetite is not so strong for that next meal, by eating once every 24 hours, start eating every 48 hours. Never start 72 hours regularly until you are able to do so. Some of us have started eating every 48 to 72 hours and have to change back to one meal a day. This is not good to do. Fast 72 hours every now and then while you are eating once every day. If you want to, once a month or once every 2 or 3 months. Never eat more than one meal a day unless you are sick and unable to eat the proper food due to the weakness of the body to carry you over 24 hours. This concludes the reading of chapters 13 and 14 of How to Eat to Live, Book 1. Thank you so much for reading and listening with me. Like, subscribe, and share the channel. To order your books by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, go to store.finalcall.com and also listen to the Final Call Radio, which has inspirational lectures, teachings, and music of the Most Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. All praise is due to Allah. Inshallah, Allah willing, this reading will continue until the completion of both books 1 and 2. May Allah bless everyone. Assalamu alaikum. Again, peace be unto you. Until next time, peace.